Have you ever walked into an empty house and instantly felt like you weren't alone? Not because you heard footsteps, not because you saw a shadow, but because something inside you refused to believe the silence. Tonight's story comes from a man who rented an old farmhouse in rural America after taking a temporary job far from home. The property had been abandoned for years, and the landlord assured him there was nothing unusual about it. But within days, strange things began happening. Doors he locked were opened by morning. Lights turned on in rooms he had never entered. Every night, exactly at 2:17 a.m., he heard someone walking upstairs. The terrifying part wasn't the footsteps. It was what he discovered after calling the police. Because according to every official record, there was supposed to be nobody living in that house. So who kept moving through the hallway every single night? Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and decide for yourself. Part 1, The New Beginning. My name is Daniel, and this happened during the fall of 2024. I had accepted a 6-week construction contract outside a small town in northern Pennsylvania. Hotels were expensive, so I searched for something cheaper. That's when I found the farmhouse. It sat at the end of a narrow gravel road surrounded by endless woods. The nearest neighbor was almost a mile away. The rent was unbelievably low, but I assumed it was because the house was old. The landlord met me only once. He handed me a rusty key and smiled. "You'll have plenty of peace out." Here, that sentence stayed with me longer than it should have. Inside, everything looked normal. Dust covered the furniture, but the electricity worked, the plumbing functioned, and the place felt livable. The first 2 nights were completely quiet. On the 3rd night, I woke to the unmistakable sound of slow footsteps crossing the floor above me. 1, 2, 3. The sound stopped directly over my bedroom. I grabbed my flashlight and searched every room upstairs. Nothing. No broken windows. No footprints. No signs anyone had entered. I convinced myself the old wooden beams were expanding in the cold. But deep down, I already knew those weren't house noises. Part 2. The Footsteps Return. The next evening, I stayed awake on purpose. At exactly 2:17 a.m., the footsteps returned. This time they were louder, slow, heavy, deliberate. They crossed the upstairs hallway exactly the same way as the night before. I climbed the stairs while the sound continued. Step, step, step. The hallway was empty, yet somehow the footsteps continued behind me. I spun around. Nothing. Every room was empty. Every closet was empty. The attic door, however, was slightly open. I was certain I had closed it earlier. As I reached for the handle, the footsteps stopped. The silence felt even worse. Then I noticed something that made my stomach drop. Fresh, muddy footprints appeared on the attic floor, leading deeper into the darkness, but there were no footprints coming back out. Part 3. The Attic. For nearly a full minute, I stood frozen at the top of the attic stairs. The muddy footprints disappeared into the darkness, as if whoever made them was still standing somewhere inside, waiting. I switched on my flashlight. The beam cut through layers of dust, revealing broken furniture, old picture frames, and stacks of forgotten boxes. The footprints continued deeper. I followed them one careful step at a time. Then they stopped. Not because they turned around, not because they faded away. They simply ended, as if someone had vanished into thin air. I searched every corner of the attic. Nothing. No person, no animal, no open window, only silence. As I turned to leave, my flashlight passed over a wooden wall near the back. Someone had scratched the same sentence into the wood dozens of times. He never left. The writing looked old, but not ancient. My heart started pounding. I took several photos with my phone and hurried downstairs. The next morning, I showed them to the landlord. The moment he saw the pictures, his smile disappeared. He quietly said, "Don't go into the attic again." Before I could ask why, he got into his truck and drove away. Part 4. Someone never left. That night, I locked every door and window. I even pushed a heavy table against the front entrance. At 2:17 a.m., the footsteps returned. Only this time, they didn't stay upstairs. They slowly came down the staircase. One step, then another, then another. The sound stopped outside my bedroom door. I couldn't breathe. The doorknob moved, very slowly. It turned halfway, then stopped. I stared at the door without blinking. Several seconds passed. Then came 3 slow knocks. Knock, knock, knock. I grabbed my phone and called 911. While whispering to the operator, I heard something that still haunts me. A quiet voice from the other side of the door said, "This is still my house." Police arrived within minutes. They searched every room, every closet, and even the attic. No one was found. But one officer walked over to me holding an old, black and white photograph he had discovered in the attic. It showed the farmhouse nearly 50 years earlier. Standing on the front porch was a man, the same face I had seen for a split second through my bedroom window, just before the police arrived. And according to local records, that man had disappeared from the house decades ago. His body was never found. Part 5. The truth, hidden in the walls. The police dismissed everything. They told me stress, isolation, and an old house could make ordinary sounds feel terrifying. But one officer stayed behind after everyone else had left. He quietly asked, "Did you hear footsteps at exactly 2:17? I nodded. His face turned pale. Without another word, he handed me a folded newspaper clipping from 1978. The headline read, "Local farmer vanishes without a trace." The article said the owner of the farmhouse, Thomas Hale, had disappeared one October night. His wife claimed she heard him walking upstairs just before the house fell, completely silent. His boots were found in the attic. His truck was still parked outside. Every door was locked from the inside. No body was ever recovered. Before leaving, the officer looked me in the eyes and said, "You're not the first tenant to report those footsteps." That sentence destroyed every logical explanation. I had been holding on to part 6, the last night. I decided I couldn't stay another night. I packed everything before sunset. All I had to do was survive until morning. At exactly 2:17 a.m., the footsteps started again. Only this time they weren't upstairs. They were inside my bedroom. One slow step, then another, coming from the corner where nothing should have been. I pointed my flashlight toward the sound. For a brief second, I saw the outline of a tall man standing perfectly still. His clothes looked soaked with mud. His face was impossible to make out. Then the light flickered. When it came back, he was gone. But the bedroom door slowly opened by itself. Beyond it, muddy footprints stretched down the hallway toward the attic. Without thinking, I followed them one last time. At the back of the attic, where the footprints had vanished before, a section of the old wooden floor had collapsed slightly. Curious, I pulled away the loose boards. Beneath them was a narrow hidden space. Inside lay a rusted watch, a weathered wallet, and human bones. The police returned before sunrise. Weeks later, forensic investigators confirmed the remains belonged to Thomas Hale, the farmer who had vanished nearly 50 years. Earlier, the official report said his body had been hidden beneath the attic floor the entire time. But one detail never appeared in the report. When the investigators sealed the attic, every muddy footprint had disappeared. And according to the lead detective, no one had walked through the dust. Except me. Yet I still wake up some nights at exactly 2:17 a.m. And for a few seconds, I can hear someone walking upstairs, as if someone never left. Part 7. The final recording. I thought it was over. The police had closed the case. Thomas Hale had finally been identified. The farmhouse was sealed. A month later, I was back in my apartment, trying to forget everything that had happened. Then my phone rang. It was the detective. His voice sounded different, nervous. He asked me one question. "Daniel, did you leave a voice recorder in the attic?" I told him no. There had never been one. For several seconds, he didn't speak. Then he quietly said, "When the forensic team searched the attic again, they found an old cassette recorder hidden inside a wooden box. It shouldn't have worked after all these years, but somehow it did." The tape contained only a few minutes of audio. At first, there was nothing except the sound of slow footsteps, the same footsteps I had heard every night. Then a man's frightened voice whispered, "He's inside the walls." A loud crash followed. Someone screamed, then complete silence. The detective paused before telling me the last part. When the recording reached its end, another voice could be heard. Calm, cold, only 4 words. Someone never left here. The investigators searched every wall in the farmhouse. Nothing. No hidden rooms. No secret passages. No evidence of another person. The house was demolished a few weeks later. But during the demolition, every worker reported hearing footsteps from the second floor. Even after the second floor had already been torn down, no one could explain it. No one ever tried. And to this day, whenever October comes around, the empty land where that farmhouse once stood is completely silent, except every night. At exactly 2:17 a.m., someone is still walking. Some stories end when the truth is discovered. Others begin the moment the truth is uncovered. Thomas Hale's body was found, His disappearance was officially solved, but the footsteps never stopped. So now it's your turn. Do you believe the sounds came from a restless spirit seeking justice? Or was there something far darker hiding inside that house all along? Tell me your theory in the comments. If you enjoyed this true horror story, like the video, subscribe to THF, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next nightmare. Until the next episode, sleep with the lights on, because if you ever hear footsteps in a place that should be empty, don't assume you're alone.